Welcome back to part 21 of setting up the Power Platform Centre of Excellence. So it's been a long slog, and in the previous videos, we pretty much installed anything and everything that you can get from the Centre of Excellence starter kit, which is great. Obviously, we will then fast forward in another video series and actually make use of the components. But before we can do that, we must talk about the critical topic of ensuring that we keep our Centre of Excellence components up to date. So I'm only going to run through this against the core component, but it would be a bit of a rinse and repeat exercise across the other ones, because if we take a look at our solutions, there isn't just one solution. We've got core components, we've got the audit logs, governance components, innovation backlog, nurture components, Power Platform administration planning, and I will actually do another video after this one that will touch on the ALM accelerator, because it does kind of have a slightly different list of steps to upgrade it. We've got theming, creator kit, again, kind of that would be a separate one as well. We're not touching on the automation Centre of Excellence in this video series. So obviously you can see here we've got our solutions, we have version numbers, they will become outdated over time. In fact, let's just have a quick look and talk about the frequency with which updates occur. So there's normally an update of the COE starter kit on a monthly basis. It's recommended to keep your components up to date at least every 3 months. And main reasons for doing this, I am going to call it out verbatim from Microsoft documentation because what they say is true. But these are the questions and reasons why you would, based on the answers, why you would want to update. So does the new release resolve an issue that you currently have? Yes, great, let's update it. Does the new release contain a new feature that you would like to try out? Yes, again, great, let's get it in there so that we can try out the new feature. And was your current version installed more than 3 months ago? Which is the critical thing, because even if the answer to question 1 and 2 is no, you still, just for like more up to date, like efficiencies in current flows, and I don't know, there could be security bugs with certain flow actions. I'm just making stuff up here, but regardless of whether there's a specific bug that's addressed or a new feature, you still need to update components. So let's, like I say, we're going to focus on the core component here. So the next critical thing to take, in fact, let's rewind. So let's have a look at how you would find out what the latest release is and how you would go about. So I'm just going to get to the GitHub repository for a second. I will show it in the browser. So if we come to github.com/Microsoft/COE-starter-kit, what it's recommended is if you go to notification, well, it says here it's going to ask me to sign in. Just bear with me one moment. In fact, I apologize. My mind's gone completely blank and I'm not sure what my GitHub credentials are. I know, shocking. I know. I do normally store them in a password management thing, but I've not got that enabled within this browser session. Anyway, you would click on notifications when you signed in, and you can select releases for the notification type, and it will notify you when there's new releases. But you can pretty much take it as a given that you will get a new release every month. So where we've got releases here, if we click on it, the critical thing you're going to be presented with here is not only know, okay, there's a new version this month, but you're going to specifically see the bugs and the features. And this is where you can figure out the answer to those questions. So does this version include a fix for this bug? Or is there a bug reading through this that you weren't even aware of? And obviously you don't want it to be present anymore. Similar, we've got the features as well. So that's going to tell you the differences, and then you can go about actually getting the new version of the respective solution zip file, and I'll put the documentation for the upgrade instructions in the description of this video, and that will have a link just where you can take a fresh copy of the whole COE starter kit that will have all of the respective zip files. So the next leg of the journey is that because of how upgrading solutions work, so it's clever enough, it'll detect you've already got this solution, so you're trying to perform an upgrade as opposed to a fresh install. But there's the concept of solution layering. So in a nutshell, I think the best way to understand this is that if you made a customization on top of what the default value or component gives you, which is completely, there is a whole Microsoft documentation for wanting to extend the COE starter kit. That's one of the beauties of the platform, is a valid thing to want to do and to do. But if you just want to keep it mainstream, that will create an unmanaged layer. And then if an unmanaged layer exists, when you come to upgrade the kind of default layer, if you will, that you got from day dot, that customization layer is still going to be stacked on top in the pecking order. So what we need to do is break it back down to its foundations, remove those unmanaged layers, and then perform the upgrade. So at the moment, that might be like a new concept, and you're thinking, what on earth is he talking about? Layers? We're not making a wedding cake here. But what we shall do, and depending on what version of the Centre of Excellence, the COE starter kit you've installed, you may or may not have this luxury. But we have got this luxury, so we're going to show it through the Admin Command Center app. So we're in our core component solution. We've gone to apps and we've launched to play the Admin Command Center app. So with that being said, we're in the Admin Command Center app. We can click on COE flows. We're going to switch it up to filter based on the inventory type. And what this will give us is a visual indicator by this kind of two, I don't know what you'd call it, but two pieces of paper, whatever, stacked on top of each other to tell you that it has unmanaged layers. And that is what we do not want. We specifically do not want that against any flow that starts admin pipe sync template v something. And Microsoft, as per the documentation, specifically say do not customize, because they are the vital flows, the backbone that populates the data, to populate the Dataverse tables that a lot of the Centre of Excellence kind of front door apps and stuff, that you visualize and interact with. So definitely don't customize those. But I created this unmanaged layer intentionally because, again, Microsoft will tell you this. You may not have actually made a change, but just going into edit. So I went into edit this flow and I just saved it. So I technically didn't make any changes, but it's registered that there's a modified date based, after the actual installation date, if you will. So I did that. And then you'll also notice that this data in the command center is populated. Can instigate it by clicking this refresh. But what it will do is essentially run this admin sync template COE solution metadata flow. The command center app will actually say, it'll take 3 to 4 minutes, but just because I wanted to see what was happening, I came here and you can see that actually, it takes between like 8 and 11 or 6 minutes on average. But anyway, I went in, edited one of the flows, saved it, reran this just to show you this is what we're looking for. We don't want anything to show this unmanaged layer. So it's got the unmanaged layer. How do we get rid of it? So I'm going to attempt to do this by just clicking on the link. Like I said, if you don't have the Command Center app to do this, it is a bit of you'd have to click through everything at this point. Whereas the Command Center app gives you that visual indicator so you know which ones to target. So here we can see we've got the Centre of Excellence core component and we've got this unmanaged layer. So it's this unmanaged layer that we want to get rid of. With this unmanaged layer selected, we'll go remove active customizations and delete. Once this is deleted and we're happy that there's no other elements that have got unmanaged layers. That's the point at which we would then be in a position to take our latest version and import it over the top. So we've got into the unmanaged layer. If we wanted that to be reflected in here again, we would have to wait for that flow to run. But for the sake of time, I'm going to bring us back to solutions, ensure that we're in our Center of Excellence environment. We'll click on Import Solution. Ahead of time, I've downloaded the latest version of the COE Starter Kit. I've extracted it. And although interestingly enough, I'm actually presented with Center of Excellence core components. I've got a 3.41 and a 3.53. Now, me being me, I'm going to go for the 3.53. We'll click next. Sometimes there'll be new connectors and they'll need new connections, or there could be new environment variables. If that's the case, we'll be presented with those. Here under advanced settings, because it's acknowledging our current version is 3.5, version contained in the update 3.53, great, because obviously you can't really go backwards. And we're going to choose upgrade, but you will note that upgrade will, if there's any components that are present that are no longer present in the new version, they will be deleted, but we're happy with that because we want to keep, this is an advantage of keeping it not customized. But I get that there will be situations where you do want to. And then we'll wait for this to successfully import, which I'll pause up. I was going to say I'll leave the video there, but I don't want to assume that it's going to be successful or get a failure and just try and pretend that everything's rosy. So we'll pause the video and wait for it to show us successfully imported. Another thing to call out that you'll notice that as part of this, you will actually have both components, both the older version and the newer version of the solution temporarily side by side. This is due to the fact that obviously it waits for a successful upgrade to have occurred before it ultimately deletes the previous version. So we will ultimately be left just with the 3.53. If we look at the history, it's still waiting a while for it to fully register the success, but it did take a fair while. And I'll probably leave it there then. Obviously, if you're doing this for real in a production, ideally you would have a test environment to do this in. And some examples of tests would be things like, do the main flows still, are you still able to open, turn them on and off? Are they still running? Other things you can do are the apps that are contained within the solution. Can you still launch them? Do they still function as expected? So, for example, the Command Center app, although I may be playing with fire because I don't think it's fully done if I try and launch it, but hey ho, why not? So they're kind of tests that you can do. And obviously, if you know that you're expecting the upgrade to provide a new feature, for example, or if you're expecting a bug to be fixed, they're perfect test case scenarios as well. Is that bug still there? Is that new feature now available? You get the idea. So I'm going to leave the video there. Thank you for watching. In the next video, we'll discuss specifically upgrading the ALM accelerator portion of the Center of Excellence. Thank you for watching.